In Hunter cricket circles, Robert Dutchy Holland is a hero. The 69-year-old former Test leg spinner still volunteers his time, curating pitches for local clubs. And it's that community involvement that makes Saturday's incident all the more shocking.
I've never seen anything like that before and never been involved in anything like that, but it was very scary while it was going on.
Dutchy and his wife Carolyn were inspecting the pitch at a wobber when two dirt bike riders were about to come onto the oval, an act that would have ripped up the waterlogged surface and countless hours of work.
After a bit of discussion and stuff, the fellow went berserk.
Police allege a male rider rode at Carolyn, hitting her, the impact throwing her to the ground, and that when Robert went to her aid, he was bashed. The second rider, a female, allegedly attacked his wife before stealing their phones.
I'm still pretty sore and I've got a couple of loose teeth that I may lose, and my wife's in bed today and she's very sore.
Two people have been charged and are due to face Belmont Local Court next week. Dutchy recently had surgery on his bowling arm, and while that was injured in the attack, he's motivated to get it right and get back on the pitch.
The idea is to be ready to go off to the next Golden Ollies cricket tour.
Samuel Jordan, NBN News.
From 1993 to 2005, Bishop Herf presided as Anglican Bishop of Newcastle. Yet,
that to the best of your recollection, you have no knowledge of allegations against Dean Lawrence.
Yes.
a failure to recall key events, a common theme during his time on the stand.
Sadly, I do not have a recollection of those conversations. I cannot recall it, ma'am.
Another thing you can't recall.
There are lots of things that I can recall, but this particular fact I cannot.
The Commission heard he was made aware of several allegations of sexual abuse by Graham Lawrence over a number of years, admitting he should have reported the alleged abuses to police. Despite Graham Lawrence being a powerful figure in the Anglican Church, Bishop Herf today said that he was neither a member of the Gang of Three who protected him or was intimidated by him, instead saying that he had no reason to doubt Lawrence.
Why do you have no recollection whatsoever of speaking with Graham Lawrence about these allegations?
I have no understanding as to why that recollection hasn't come to me.
Are you protecting Graham Lawrence?
Certainly not.
Are you intimidated by Graham Lawrence?
I'm not intimidated by Graham Lawrence.
When questioned about pedophile priest Peter Rushton, Roger Herft admitted he was fooled by Rushton after he was caught with pornography in his possessions.
I found his whole demeanour had changed, and deep in my heart, I felt that he had repented, that somehow a change had taken place in his life.
Tyson Cottrell, NBN News.
Lake Macquarie Council's election is underway, so too is the political sparring.
Obviously the Liberals are very nervous given the state and federal government and what happened in the Northern Territory.
We are definitely underdogs in this area, there's no doubt about that.
Much of the focus centres around this text message sent out on Friday by the Lake Macquarie Liberals. It says the council wants to take away the weekly bin pickup. Labor says that's not true.
I think it's misleading because, like I said, we'll still have our 2 bins collected every Monday.
This isn't a scare campaign at all. This policy is in place, this policy is coming.
Under the council's waste management plan, the general waste bin will, at some point, be scaled back to a fortnightly collection, with the intention that household food scraps will then be placed in the green waste bin, which will then be collected weekly.
We'll be looking at having more recycled rubbish in our bins.
It's this to and froing that's seen another mayoral candidate step forward.
I don't want to see party politics in council and spoiling what we've already got here.
After 17 years on the council, Laurie Coughlin will be vying for mayor with the Independent Lake Alliance.
We are not a political party. We are just simply independents that join together at election time.
Samuel Jordan, NBN News.
These families are part of a group no one wants to be included in. They've all been deeply touched by childhood cancer. Now, a very ambitious fundraiser to help find a cure is full steam ahead at Teralba, a home built in 21 days. Everything down to the last nut and bolt donated.
I'm a grandfather, I've got 5 grandchildren, and I would not like one of my children have to go and endure that.
People accept older people dying like me, but children deserve a full life. Pretty easy call.
Work only got underway this morning and already this. It's literally all hands on deck.
21 days is certainly an ambitious time frame to build a house, but they definitely have the manpower to do it. Normally on a day like today there'd be 2 guys here on site. Today there's in excess of 30 and they'll be here in shifts around the clock until the build is finished.
And I reckon it'll be before 21 days. They'll have this house built, 4 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, al fresco, the whole shebang, beautiful view. It's well worth purchasing. That's my little sales pitch.
All proceeds from the October auction will go to the Children's Cancer Institute. An injection of $650,000 or more would pay the salaries of 6 senior scientists for a year.
That will drive our research forward, and we know that if we've got sufficient funding that we'll one day get to our goal of 100% of kids being cured of cancer.
Brave toddlers just like little Nixon, who fought a brain tumour. Proud dad Nick is on night shift at the site tonight.
I'm getting my hands dirty too, and why wouldn't I, for such a great cause.
Kate Haberfield, NBN News.
It's been going for 24 years, and so far we've raised over $1.8 million for research into childhood burns trauma. And this year we're fortunate enough to have the RSPCA come on board, along with our other services charities, Mates for Mates.
I was 116 kilos and I got down to 79 kilos for the photo shoot. So yeah, it was a good journey.
It's still sinking in. Three podiums and 3 competitions, and I didn't even expect it, so I can't be happier.
Muswellbrook beat Scone a fortnight ago to earn the right to host the decider, and the locals were out in force. Once proceedings got underway, the battle lines were drawn. Time and time again, the contest erupted as both sides tried to rattle the other. Muswellbrook eventually broke the deadlock thanks to Cade Boney. Clinton Blenman kept the big hits coming, but Scone responded with a try of its own, Josh Watson kicking perfectly for JJ Apthorpe. The 6-all scoreline didn't last long. Lenny Craft scored in the corner for the Rams. That led to a heated exchange between Watson and Jacob Dowell, with both players sent to the bin. Once again, Scone hit back on the scoreboard. This time it was Tim Watson. The Thoroughbreds led 12-10, but a Rams penalty made it 12-all. The second half was dominated by defence. Another penalty to Muswellbrook made it 14-12 before a long-range Scone effort put the Thoroughbreds on top. Walmsley and Hayden Topless started it before Tim Smith finished it. The Rams had a late chance to tie the game, but the penalty was waved away, handing the minor premiers the grand final trophy.
We didn't feel too much pressure coming here. A lot more pressure. It was probably on Muswellbrook, expected to win at home, and we just turned up and did our job and prevailed in the end.
The North Stars returned from Melbourne with their favourite piece of silverware in what's becoming a familiar journey.
Nobody really gave us a shot from, the beginning of the season. We were, a lot of pressure to repeat, but I thought we did very well.
Connor McLaughlin opened the scoring for Newcastle in the grand final clash with Canberra before Josh Harris made it 2-0 late in the second period. Former North Star turned Canberra Brave Geordie Woodrick got one back, but Newcastle held on.
1 goal, 5 goals, whatever. We're holding this thing, right?
Born and raised in the Hunter, the win was extra special for Matt Lindsay.
I grew up watching the team and always wanted to be a North Star, so I've been lucky enough the last 8 years to be one, and it just feels amazing.
There's a couple of boys with a couple of little impact injuries and things like that, bruising and corks and things of that nature, but other than that, adrenaline will get us through this match and we can't wait to play. I'm sure they believe it's an advantage, but to be quite honest, we love playing there, so I don't think there's an advantage or disadvantage for either team.
Two long years since Operation Spicer, and today some shock findings. Former Charlestown MP Andrew Cornwell, who accepted $10,000 in a brown paper bag from Jeff McCloy, and his wife Samantha Brooks are facing potential legal action for giving false or misleading evidence to the Commission. The ICAC has also referred prominent Hunter businessman Bill Saddington to the DPP. The report found 14 people acted with the intention of evading election funding laws by not disclosing political donations or evading the ban on donations from property developers. Of those, 9 were from the Hunter and Central Coast, including former MPs Cornwell, Gary Edwards, Mike Gallagher, Chris Harcher, Tim Owen and Chris Spence, as well as former Lord Mayor Jeff McCloy, property developer Hilton Grujon and former BillDev executive Darren Williams. While ex-Port Stephens MP Craig Bowman, former Wyong MP Darren Webber and Troy Palmer, once right-hand man to mining magnate Nathan Tinkler, acted with the intention of evading the laws by not disclosing political donations. The Hunters Labor MPs swept to power after the scandal. Today they lined up to sink the boot in.
This has really undermined a lot of people's faith in the whole process.
Charlestown MP Jodie Harrison believes a strong message should be sent to those found doing the wrong thing.
The people in the electorate need to know that they can trust their politicians. That's why there needs to be a very clear message sent from now, and the full force of the law should be applied.
Renee Feder, NBN News.
A frank and open admission from the man who was once the most powerful Anglican in Newcastle.
I have let them down, and let them down badly, let down the survivors in ways that remorse itself is a very poor emotion to even express.
Bishop Roger Hurft addressing the Royal Commission, accepting past wrongs.
But I want to thank the Commission for holding me personally accountable.
The Commission sought to gain more transparency from the former Chancellor of the Diocese, Paul Rosser QC, denying any involvement in the 3-month good behaviour bond handed to Anglican priest Stephen Gray in 1990 for raping a teenage boy, despite agreeing he did sign Gray's indictment during his role as a Crown prosecutor.
That's a remarkably light sentence in your experience, is it not?
I'd have thought so.
Did you have any involvement in negotiating this sentence? Are you sure about that?
Questioned also about the appropriateness of representing lay preacher James Brown, who was charged with child sex offences. The Commission heard former Bishop Brian Farron had raised concerns with Mr Rosser over a perceived conflict of interest with his representation of James Brown. But Mr Rosser says he told Bishop Farron there wasn't one, and the matter was left there. The Royal Commission into child sexual abuse within the Anglican Church will resume on November 16. Tomorrow, the spotlight turns to the Catholic Church. Tyson Cottrell, NBN News.
It is a bit of a milestone today that we're moving on with some of that concept and moving closer towards that, but this is not the end by any stretch of the imagination. We've got a lot more planning to do.
Patterson Merrill Jane Swanson.
After years in the pipeline, Hunter Water is making a milestone move.
Really good news for residents. No longer are they going to have a fairly, let's be honest, ugly looking huge pipe in their backyard.
This week, pieces of the pipe being lifted out of Taro, placed on trucks and taken away.
It's going fairly well, better than we expected.
They've been there for 92 years, from Chichester Dam right into Newcastle. Each day the pipeline carries 65 million litres of drinking water.
In fact, it's even older than the Sydney Harbour Bridge.
But now it's being largely replaced. This 3-kilometre stretch, the latest to go, a move welcomed by residents.
Yeah, it'll give me a bit more room to get my caravan in and out.
Water is now flowing through a new underground line on the other side of Hexham.
While work here at Taro is almost finished, this project isn't over yet. Hunter Water has targeted another 7 kilometres of pipeline and wants to send underground.
But not all of the old infrastructure will be ripped up.
The intention is not to replace the entire 90-kilometre stretch of the CTGM underground. Frankly, there's lots of sections where it's not inconveniencing the community and where it's perfectly appropriate to have it above ground.
Samuel Jordan, NBN News.
Well, it's an historic night here at Magic Park. Edgeworth Eagles, the first Hunter team to make the round of 16 in the FFA Cup. Now they take on the A-League's most successful and most polarising club, the Western Sydney Wanderers. Busloads of fans have made their way here to Broadmeadow. A lot of them will be targeting one man in particular, the Edgeworth Eagles striker and former A-League Golden Boot, Daniel McBreen. He joins us now. And Daniel, you've been revving up these fans online.
Yeah, why not? The band is good. You try and get as many people here as possible, so it's a great atmosphere. And if they're not giving me stick, then there's something wrong. That's parcel of football, so I enjoy that part of it. So like I say, I hope there's heaps of people here and we can enjoy the night.
You've got an impressive scoring record personally against the Wanderers. Of course, that penalty goal to help the Mariners win in the 2012-2013 championship. You'd be hoping to continue that tonight?
Yeah, look, I've always enjoyed playing in front of their crowd, and it's even sweeter when you can celebrate a goal in front of them. I've done it a few times against them, so let's hope there's another one tonight.
How are the boys feeling? I mean, you're coming off a 3-0 win up in North Queensland. In good form?
Yeah, look, we're confident. Obviously, we know they're a strong team. They're an A-League team. It's all the cliches, a little club versus a big club. But, you know, our coach, Damien Zane, has got a plan, and if we stick to it, we think that we can get a result.
How important is this game here at Broadmeadow for local football?
Oh, yeah, it's massive. Look, we're the first team to make to the 16 from northern New South Wales, and we want to make the 8. It's simple as that. We just want to put Newcastle football back on the map, and you know it's such a big history in this area, and we think that it should be recognised as one of the best areas in Australia, because although the Jets haven't been doing so well, hopefully they're going to get better in the next few years, and they've got such a great big fan base here, so many players that you know we want to just shine a light on that, and hopefully people start to respect it.
Thank you for joining us. Of course, the game here at Magic Park kicks off tonight at 8.
Yeah, it's very evident the climate change is significant, so it's a twofold trip for us. It's about preparation for the A-League, but being competitive here and really cementing our philosophy and principles of play. So I'll select the best team available to a degree.
For a local junior, scoring on debut at Hunter Stadium is a dream come true.
I actually started laughing. A few of the boys come up to me after the game and asked me why I started laughing, but sort of just didn't know what to do or how to celebrate, really.
Not that the commentators got his name right.
It's Fithian.
Really?
Yeah, it's sort of more of an F sound than a P.
Dylan has enjoyed a meteoric rise to first grade. He was invited to trial with the 20s by former Knights coach Rick Stone while playing with a pub side.
Started playing footy at West Newcastle in under 11s and moved out to Lakes United at 16s and played the rest of my juniors there before I moved over to Belmont South.
His current boss is busy planning for 2017.
The worst part of what we're going through is gone now. You know, I'd expect us to improve next year and then again the year after that.
The medical retirement of Cade Snowden has given Nathan Brown much needed salary cap room. He'll target a handful of experienced heads, but not until they've finished their seasons. Brown's also sent an ominous warning to the current squad.
20 players off contract next year, so I'd imagine that there's going to be a number of players that will turn up in far better shape than they turned up last pre-season. The truth be told, I've never seen a squad as unfit as the squad that we've had this year, and that was quite evident in the pre-season.
With a third Olympic Games on his CV, Richie Campbell can now relax.
It's definitely mellow out time. Like I need to just relax and take it easy. As I said, get into the surf. Stay away from the pool. Just enjoy life a bit.
Campbell was disappointed the Sharks didn't progress past the group stage in Rio, but believes our men are ready to make a mark internationally. A narrow loss to eventual gold medalist Serbia is proof of that.
In other Olympics gone past, the 5 points that we got out of our games would have seen us through the quarterfinals. So it was just unlucky with how other results panned out, with a lot of draws and other lesser teams beating stronger teams that eliminated us from the games.
Campbell has been part of the national program for more than a decade. He admits he never thought he'd play at 1 games, let alone 3. Approaching the peak of his powers, Tokyo will likely be his 4th.
I think it'll be an amazing Olympic Games, and the team that we've got is only going to get better over the next 4 years.
But for now, it's time to rest and recalibrate.
It's an awesome feeling to be back in Newey. Like I love being here, love the surf, getting back and seeing the fam, all my friends.
Paddy Kilmurray, NBN News.
It was extremely lucky that there was 2 intensive care paramedics. One of them was actually one of the bike rider's fellow mates that he was riding with, and another one was actually a passing motorist.
"42 years of emotion laid bare." Today, Gerard McDonald stood defiant after addressing the Royal Commission.
Does this help you move forward?
Oh, look at the smile on my face, darling.
For more than an hour, he detailed the horrific sexual abuse he suffered at the hands of convicted pedophile priest Vincent Ryan while going to school at St Joseph's, Merewether.
After every other altar boy practice in 1975, before dropping me home, Father Ryan would sexually abuse me. Every single time. I was 10 years old.
Mr McDonald spoke of the extent to which Ryan would abuse him, recalling how once he was anally raped in front of a group of boys. The boys were even made to abuse each other, driving him to a life of addiction and depression.
I sat there with my legs over the edge and just thought to myself, I want to do this. I want to do this. But if I do, he wins.
15 more witnesses are scheduled to give evidence, including current Bishop Bill Wright. He'll appear sometime in the next few days, although this morning he released a video statement about the hearing.
We support the processes of this Royal Commission that give them the opportunity to tell their stories. And we admire those who have chosen to do so.
The inquiry also heard 158 people have filed claims against 31 perpetrators linked to the diocese, which has so far paid $25.7 million in compensation to victims.
It's just the beginning.
It's just the beginning for me. The fight's just begun.
Samuel Jordan, NBN News.
We want Mike Baird to come to his senses and understand what his real responsibility is to the people of New South Wales and the people of the Hunter Valley. His job is to build the economy, not to trash it.
Prominent developer Hilton Grujon speaking candidly on the ICAC probe.
The people that didn't like me still don't like me, and I'm sorry about that. They didn't like me anyway. The people that knew me knew I wasn't corrupt.
Mr Grujon's involvement all stemmed from the purchase of this painting for more than $10,000 from former Charlestown MP Andrew Cornwell. The developer says he was helping Mr Cornwell pay an outstanding tax bill. The ICAC yesterday declared both Mr Grujon and former Lord Mayor Jeff McCloy acted with the intention of evading election funding laws relating to bans on donations from property developers, but neither were found to be corrupt.
Can you see why that looks cloudy to people?
As I said to ICAC, the only thing I did in his electorate, to my knowledge, after he was elected, he supported the opposition to what I proposed, and that was fine with me. That was his job. I did not ever support him so that he could support me. I don't need his support, nor can a person in that position do anything anyway. There was advice from a lawyer who was high up in the Liberal Party that was definitely illegal. I sought my own advice and didn't go with some of the things that were proposed.
Mr McCloy today labelled the ICAC investigation a massive waste of time and money.
You ran the story the other evening of a couple of $100,000 block of land he's given to the builders to. You understand? And that for him, it's millions of dollars on the record, let alone all the stuff that's not on the record. And for piddling amounts, we're going to spend $20 million and go after it. Hang on a minute. Let's get real here.
Emma Murphy, NBN News.
There's been very little for fans to cheer about, while for players it doesn't get much worse.
Not to win a game and to try and build momentum on consecutive losses week in, week out is extremely tough. I know that this whole team's been building towards something, and I feel as if the win is within our grasp this weekend. We could be potentially fielding our strongest team.
Nathan Brown's rebuild is underway, but the results are yet to show. Recruitment is a primary concern, and with the salary cap situation improving, the club has earmarked potential targets. Canberra prop Paul Vaughan is one player reportedly on the short list.
He's, loves running the ball. He's got a high work rate and very big fella, obviously. If he was to come here, he'd be a really good asset for the team.
And just on Paul Vaughan, we may as well knight him, Sir Paul Vaughan. Come to the Knights, mate.
Nathan Ross will likely finish the year as the club's top try scorer. He wants to see more action in 2017.
I played centre in the local league, Queensland Cup and reserve grade for the Knights. I've also played fullback. So I've only just recently transitioned back to the wing. You can say I've played maybe 30 games there. Hopefully in the pre-season I'll get a crack at centres or at fullback. And I enjoy playing wing and I enjoy playing first grade, but I think I've got a lot to offer the closer I am to the ball.
Paddy Kilmurray, NBN News.
A big crowd turned out at Magic Park to see if the Eagles could cause an upset. Lachlan Pasquale opened the game with a special welcome for the Wanderers. Edgeworth went toe-to-toe with the visitors for much of the first half before a former Jet opened the scoring. Stephen Lustiker had a great chance to make it 2-0 after 40 minutes. Instead, it was Brendan Hamill who hit the target in first half stoppage time. Western Sydney picked up where it left off shortly after the break. Brodie Taylor tried to provide a spark for the Eagles, but his shot sailed wide. A few minutes later, a 39-year-old striker gave Edgeworth some hope. Jim Fogarty kept the Eagles in it with a solid save from a Wanderers free kick. Edgeworth then had a series of decent chances, with Aidan Gardner finding some space, while Josh Evans was wide of the mark with his header and McBreen steered his straight at Andrew Redmayne. But Western Sydney killed the game off in the final minutes as Brendan Santalab scored a late double. The Eagles can now focus on Sunday's NPL decider against Broadmeadow.
It was good to stick it with them for, a good half, but obviously they were just a class above. But I'm proud of what the boys did and a good experience for the young guys.
Obviously we're going in as favourites due to how we played this year, but you can't take away from Terrigal being won the last two grand finals, been in the last 5, so I think they'll be very confident coming in this week as well.
Winning 3 in a row is a big effort, but I think we got the team to do it this year, so hopefully everything goes right on Saturday afternoon.
They did lose a few games through the season, but I was pretty confident that they were going to be our competition for the grand final on Saturday. So they're strong and they're building momentum, but yeah, we'll just have to wait and see.
Yeah, they've definitely been the dominant team all season. We had quite a few injuries throughout the year and a few people away at different commitments and things like that, and just couldn't quite get our normal roll on.
The head of the Newcastle and Maitland Diocese for more than 15 years, former Bishop Michael Malone, explaining that some of the child sex abuse at the hands of priests was not considered to be criminal.
In the past, as in years ago, I think if a priest offended with regard to anybody, it was regarded as a moral problem.
He accepted the Church's response to victims' claims was a gross neglect of duty, but was hesitant in calling it a cover-up.
Cover-up's probably a word that I would not use, but due diligence was not followed through.
Much of the Commission's focus has been on notorious pedophile priest Vince Ryan, Bishop Malone defending the Church's decision to not defrock him after his release from prison.
I don't think the community would have thanked us for releasing a pedophile into its midst without any idea of supervision or mentoring or the like.
Another of Ryan's victims gave evidence today detailing the sexual abuse he experienced as a teenage altar boy in the 80s, abuse which led to his own sexual offending and later ripped apart his life.
As a result, I have spent time in jail, my marriage has failed, I have attempted suicide, suffered from depression and struggled to have a normal relationship with other people.
The current Bishop of the Newcastle Maitland Diocese, Bill Wright, will give evidence tomorrow. Mike Lorrigan, NBN News.
The Rural Fire Service ready to spring into action.
There's a number of fire danger seasons that have started today and some that have already started. So places like Singleton, Muswellbrook, Upper Hunter have started their fire danger period today.
The rest of the region will enter bushfire season on October 1, but an RFS outlook has already mapped out the areas to watch. The Great Dividing Range framing the state's potential hotspots.
Areas west of the divide certainly have that potential for an above average fire season, but even people east of the Great Divide need to be aware of fires that start as we're starting to get into that warm, dry weather.
But the service says people shouldn't become complacent, warning the map is only a guide and a bushfire can start anywhere, anytime.
Although they're showing increased danger in those areas, it is widespread right across New South Wales as we start to get into those warmer and drier patterns to be more aware of bushfire.
Firefighters say the community shouldn't be fooled by recent rain. Warm weather can dry up undergrowth and ground litter in a week and add fuel to fires.
Although you may feel like we've had a lot of rain, it really doesn't take that long for it to dry out and to be able to support that fire.
Georgina Smythe, NBN News.
For Catherine Lorraine, every day is a struggle. Just 2 weeks ago, she was diagnosed with lung cancer.
They sent me for further tests and found that it spread throughout my body, and they gave me a 12 months to 6 months prognosis. So I haven't got long left to live.
Struggling to breathe, she wants access to medicinal cannabis.
I think it'd improve the quality of my life because it's a pain reliever and makes you feel more relaxed and more able to cope.
When a close friend of Newcastle pharmacist Nick Backerich fell ill with cancer, he says he witnessed how difficult it is to find a doctor willing to register patients on the now renamed Medicinal Cannabis Compassionate Use Scheme.
I guess from a medico-legal perspective, the medication itself hasn't been highly tested in this country and it's new. It's always very difficult to move down a pathway of prescribing when you don't particularly know the drug very well.
So he's tracked down a local doctor who will, and is working on setting up a service that is as easy as registering online.
Essentially, the idea is to be able to sell them through our online pharmacies and then also distribute them hopefully nationally through the Pharmacy for Less group.
The web address is abccannabis.com.au. Only patients with a terminal illness can access medicinal cannabis in New South Wales. For more information, visit the government website. Emma Murphy, NBN News.
What these artefacts actually show us or tell us is that about 7,000 years ago, Taro was actually very close to the ocean. There were sand beds in Taro, and it was the site of a very significant stone-making location for the local Aboriginal community.
He was man of the match in the 2012 decider, so Broadmeadow officials know what Josh Piddington brings to the Magic.
Mixed reports as to what's happened, obviously from one extreme to the other, and so I'll be given up until game day to find out what's wrong with it, and if I'm capable of playing, I'll take the field.
I know his temperament and I'm sure he'll play. I doubt there's anything wrong with him anyway.
Edgeworth doesn't have major injury concerns, but Tuesday's FFA Cup clash with the Wanderers took a toll. The Eagles will start as favourites as they attempt to secure a second straight premiership grand final double.
The expectation would be on them to go on it, so that the pressure's off and the expectation is off for us. So we just go out and play to our game plan, and I'm confident we can get the win.
We set 3 goals at the start of the year, minor, the FFA Cup and the major, so we've ticked 2 of those boxes, so there's 1 to go.
The game will feature 6 of the 12 leading goal scorers in the NPL, including the Magic's James Vigili and Cale Bradbury, as well as Bren Hamill, Brodie Taylor and Daniel McBreen from Edgeworth. Japanese import Keigo Moriyasu finished equal second on 17 goals, but he could start on the bench.
He's that talented, he can be an impact player, he can start, he can do it all.
Mitchell Hughes, NBN News.
A picture-perfect start to spring and ideal conditions for racing. What better way to launch the carnival than with a true test of horsepower, a match race between car and steed.
Never done that before?
No, never done that before, especially on horseback anyway, so it'd be interesting to see how we go.
The result not important, but racing this spring is. Newcastle's premier trainer Chris Lees is still hunting a maiden Gold Cup victory. Stablemates' sense of occasion and singing will be in the mix.
It's a race that I've always wanted to win, and I think anyone in Newcastle wants to win their hometown cup.
2 weeks out from the club's premier meet, racegoers are preparing to look their best. Jared Mullen is the official ambassador, while Christy Lees is the face of Ladies' Day.
Less is more for me, but it's also good to see people push the boundaries. So pastels, pretty stuff, that's what I like.
It's a good time of year. All the good horses come out to play now.
Cup Day is on Friday the 16th of September and will feature 3 Group 3 races, while the following day is Ladies' Day.
I think everybody gets that the Friday's a real racing purist day and probably more of a corporate day. The Saturday's all about the girls and bubbles and fascinators and fashion.
We've got Andy McLeish, who's just took the Australian title. Then we've got Boris Chambon from France, he's an ex-World Supermoto champion. Then we've got all the other, like the Japanese guys, Indonesians, Malaysians, they'll all put up a strong fight too. Oh, the season's been absolutely brilliant at home. I've won every round apart from one, just a little mechanical failure, so I can't complain with that.
The face of the Catholic Church in the Hunter with the words so many abuse victims waited years to hear.
As Bishop, I humbly offer an unreserved apology again on behalf of the diocese to all those men who have suffered and continue to suffer.
Bishop Bill Wright giving a frank admission on the Church's shortcomings at the Royal Commission into Child Sex Abuse, particularly when it came to pedophile priest Vincent Ryan.
Ryan was a sexual predator who used his status as a priest and the power that gave him to gain access to boys.
A statement given at a special commission of inquiry 2 years ago and again on the record today.
Through those failures and omissions, the diocese failed to act according to the gospel.
Bishop Wright told the Commission that he believes more focus should be on current issues within the diocese, as opposed to revisiting child sex abuse cases from decades ago.
It sometimes seems that so many of the case studies are delving into matters of 30 and 40 years ago, and I kind of wonder where the more contemporary spotlight should be falling.
Well, one of the issues there, Bishop, I'm sure you understand, is it takes people many, many years before they come and tell anyone that they've had a problem.
Yeah.
The Commission also heard of the critical work of Maureen O'Hearn, a social worker for the Diocese Victim Support Agency Zimmerman Services, work which survivors today say saved their lives. Mike Lorrigan, NBN News.
Today is really about hearing from the P&Cs about what's actually happening in their schools to back up the figures that we're seeing, if that's the case.
The weather may have been dreary in Newcastle today, but the mood at the foreshore was upbeat. All hands were on deck to finish the fit-out, ahead of what's expected to be a huge weekend at the Asia Supermoto Championship.
I'm expecting like 20,000 on Saturday and 40,000 on Sunday. That's why we've got so much public transport.
Along with a local crowd of thousands, Newcastle will also be thrown into the international spotlight. The event will be broadcast to an estimated audience of 225 million people in Asia, and organisers say the city will reap the rewards when it hosts the race for the next 2 years.
We're going to have such a wide audience, and next year it will really smash it out of the park.
Around 100 riders will line up to compete, including husband and wife duo Tim and Jess Bujos. They've travelled from Perth to take on the world's best.
That's a big draw card when you've got most of the field is internationals. For them guys to come over and actually really want to do it and come back.
Super excited. I'm not much of a dirt racer, I'm more of a road racer, so the dirt section is looking pretty confronting, but I'm all open for a challenge and I can't wait.
Racing is expected to get underway from 10 a.m. tomorrow. Renee Feder, NBN News. A decade ago, Tony Mortell fought and won a challenging battle to deregister the term UGG. Now the Thornton-based business owner is fired up once again.
I was gobsmacked. I couldn't believe that the same company would actually be granted the same trademark. We were put through hell and back 10 years ago.
IP Australia has registered a trademark to American company Deckers for a stylised version of the word UGG for various items of clothing. While the Mortell's business use of the word predates the trademark, Mr. Mortell is concerned it could cripple other sheepskin manufacturers across the country.
It's the whole industry. Last time we lost quite a few different businesses that just closed up because they didn't have the means to fight. So we lost a few good men, and we don't want to see that happen again.
The last legal case was costly in both time and money, something Mr. Mortell isn't willing to repeat.
We'd like to really see them change their verdict because it's unfair to us all.
IP Australia says following a federal court ruling on the term UGG boot, sheepskin manufacturers are free to use the word UGG when marketing or selling footwear because no single trader has a monopoly on the word for footwear in Australia. Renee Feder, NBN News.
Maybe in the next 2 months, I will pick out the best one.
The Australian Board Riders Battle is the pinnacle of club surfing in Australia. It turns an individual sport into a team challenge, and Australia's best take part.
When I was surfing on the tour, I always surfed in the club contests because they were incredibly competitive, and it gave me really good competitive practice. And it's the same now. We see all, the World Tour surfers, they come back and surf for their clubs, when it comes to events like this.
Previously held at Cronulla, the event is locked in for Newcastle for the next 2 years and will precede Surfest.
To kind of have it
here and back to back as well, one after another. It'll be really good. I think it'll bring a lot more people in as well from all over Australia competing for the board riders and then doing the QS as well.
Ryan Callanan heads back overseas on Friday for the World Tour event in California.
I feel like I've got nothing to lose now. My year hasn't gone to plan, so I'm just going to go all out, and I think it's going to be a really good event. I'm looking forward to kind of trying to show off more of what I can do instead of just trying to make heats. So I'm actually really excited.
He's confident he can re-qualify for next year's World Tour.
I obviously qualified last year, so I feel like I can do it again. I'm still hoping, and I still think I can qualify through the CT rankings, but if not, I definitely feel I can qualify through the QS.
I think it would speed the game up a bit more, and I suppose just being able to challenge the ref on his call, and I suppose it's having a bit of trust in your mate. If he says he scored a try, you're sort of going to back him. They've got some good memories down there, and returning back to Cogra is certainly fitting for me to go out at Cogra.
At Dungog, learning takes place as much outdoors as it does indoors.
I like learning about new plants. This year, Dungog received a $10,000 education grant to teach children about farming and agriculture.
Food is planted and grown, and a lot of children really honestly don't realise.
Each class has its own garden to plant, pick and cook fresh produce.
We hope that it will keep growing.
Some even get to care for chickens as well as vegetables.
We plant bedseeds.
But it's not just about food. Students are also learning about different fibres and their uses, including cotton.
Yes, we do grow cotton plants.
To watch the full story or get your school involved, head to our website and we could be coming to your school.
I'm Darcy McKenna.
And I'm Charlie Lane.
Reporting to you
for NBN News Junior Journos.